If you do not, if you do not want your picture on the screen, feel free to turn your camera off. Otherwise, it will show up on the recording. I will provide the recording to everybody in attendance today, as well as those folks who had signed up and then were able to attend. So we'll make sure that recording comes out. What I like to start with every time that I do a workshop or any kind of class or meeting is just to introduce ourselves and find a little bit about why you're here. We know that this workshop in particular, we are talking about using online resources. We're going to focus in on 2 specific resources. And for tutors, why don't we start with your introduction? You can put it in the chat if you prefer to type that in there, or I'll let you unmute and introduce yourself. But what we would like to hear are a few things. Tell us your name, but also what kind of online resource you currently use. And it could be any kind of resource that you use. And then why you use that resource. Why has that resource been good for you or good for the student or something that you find valuable to use online? So let's hear from the tutors first. Feel free to put your information in the chat or unmute yourself and share. So I'll let anyone volunteer to go first.
Okay, I'll start. Okay, I'm Suzanne Levine. I missed the last session that you did a month ago, but I did look at it and I made notes. And also Karen Hamilton, I finally get to see you.
Hey, hi, Suzanne.
Hi, we've been emailing back and forth since I started.
Right,
So,
nice to meet you.
Same here. I have been tutoring an ESL student since November, and it's been great. She's intermediate, and we're meeting on Zoom, and I've been using. I started to use the Newsela. Is that how you say it, or Newsela? I wasn't sure.
Newsela.
Okay,
I say Newsela. I don't know. Amy, what do you say?
Newsela.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds Newsela. I've been using that, and also another resource that I use is called Elizabeth Clare's Easy English News, which is I'm using the digital version, of course, and I really like it. It has all different articles. It comes out monthly, and you pay $4 a month if you want to use it. And it has a lot of really good articles written for an ESL student. And there's vocabulary, and there are questions you can ask. There's pictures, and it's very news, current events. And I really like the Newsela, right?
Newsela.
Newsela. Okay, I have to practice that. I like the Newsela very much. I always change the Lexile level to the lowest because it's what my student can do. Okay, so I really need I want to use that source more effectively. Instead of just reading together with her and making up my own questions, I would like to learn how to use it effectively. And also, I know the last session, which I listened to the recording, I don't remember who it was, as a male teacher who was talking about using what's the website, not PDF, but what was it called that he said, Kami, something about using Kami.
Khan Academy.
Okay, I'd like to learn how to do very basic things like save the article so that she and I can look at it together and learn how to underline and highlight and do whatever basic things I can do. Before, when I was a teacher for a long time teaching ESL, and I retired right at the end of when COVID first hit. So I was doing a little bit of online from home, but I can only do very basic things in Zoom. So I'm here to learn how to use the resources more effectively and learn what, whatever you can help me with.
All right, wonderful. Thanks, Suzanne. That's a great list.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to go on
It's
and on.
okay. No, and you know what? As I'm thinking of Amy's PowerPoint, Amy, I think she touches on a whole bunch of things that you already have listed. That's really great to see that what Amy will be talking about, you've brought up. Thank you for sharing. Who would like to go next?
I will.
Oh, okay.
All right.
My name is Eileen Lynch, and I've only been tutoring a short time, and I'm doing the ABE, the basic education, with a woman from Honduras. And I don't use any online resources, and I'm here to just learn and expand any skills that I can glean from this video, this Zoom.
All right, wonderful. Thanks, Eileen. You'll be picking up a hand will be hiding from writing down a bunch of information. That's wonderful. Who would
Thank
like
you.
to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
You can hear me? Okay. My name's Janet Finesilver, and I'm working with my second student with DCLC. I think both of the students I've worked with have learning disabilities. The student I'm working with, it's basic reading that we're working on, reading and writing. And progress is very slow. Her memory is quite poor. Trying to get her to participate in some kinesthetic learning activities, and she seems to be somewhat resistant to that, and yet that's her strongest channel for learning. So that's kind of an issue. The platform I'm using when we meet is Google Meet. I was dissatisfied with Zoom because we kept freezing and losing audio, and it was really annoying. We seem to do a little better with Google Meet. So, and it's a simple, straightforward platform, very easy to use. So it seems to work a little better. And in terms of other resources for teaching her, Karen recently got us into the Voyager series, and that matches her skill level much better than the Challenger series that we were in before. And I use online resources, just normal Google searches, and I take materials from different universities and elementary school teacher sites, and just whatever she seems to be struggling with at the moment, I just find things to support her. And so that's it. I'll sign off.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Janet. So many important points you touched on there. We'll make sure to be bringing those up. Thank you. Who would like to go next?
I can. Hi, I'm Ann Talent. I am working with an ABE student for the past 6 months or so. She's actually my third student at the Literacy Council. My first two students were ESL students. And this is actually very timely for me because at our last session, she just requested that we start using Newsela. And she sent me a Newsela article, so I have a sense of, what, the articles are and what kinds of teacher resources there are. But I'd like to, obviously learn more about it and see how to more fully utilize it. And currently we use Zoom, and then I use Google Drive quite a bit to take pictures of any resources that I want to share with her, and any work that she's done, she takes pictures of, and I upload on Google Drive, and we share it that way. And we use online dictionaries. I bring those up to look up a lot of words and things like that. And the one other thing, actually, I'm not sure who mentioned it, maybe Suzanne, but Kami, I would actually like to learn more about, because I did go to the last training and I tried to use it and I could not figure it out. So at some point, if we could review how to use that, that would be great. So, oh, and actually my student is, she's also taking a group ABE class, which is how she knew about Newsela. She was struggling with the assignments that were given to her through Newsela in that class. So she's bringing it to me to help her with that.
Wonderful, Anne. Thank you for sharing. I'm wondering if one of your students happens to be in Amy's class. Amy uses a lot of Newsela.
Yeah, I don't think I have a student from Honduras though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The
Yeah.
other thing to talk about the calming, why don't I reach out, since two of you now have brought that up, let me reach back out to Stephen and see if he can get, give us some more insights. He's the one that uses Kami and has downloaded that, and he's kind of the expert in that. Let me make a note. Maybe if I could even get him to do a recording and then send a recording out to all of you with some kind of support. Let me follow up with Stephen about that, since he did do that. So I would be happy to do that because that was a really cool resource for him to use. So absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And who is left that's not shared yet?
I haven't shared. Hi, my name is Lucy. Karen just connected me with a student yesterday. She is ESL. I haven't taught any ESL. I was doing ABE student. I was doing tutoring with an ABE student before COVID, and with COVID, we tried to go online and we couldn't. But even though she was ABE and had not done ESL, she really didn't understand most English terms. She was from another country. She spoke like a Creole form. So I'm nervous about the going online, even though I work from home and have worked from home for 5 years. I didn't even know how to explain to her how to bring something up on a computer from virtually, nor did she remember when I did teach her something. So I'm excited to see how I can transition better. And I did reach out to her, Karen, last night, but I didn't hear back.
Lucy, is that the new student I just sent?
The new one, yeah.
Okay.
So, Janet, could you tell me if your student was ABE or ESL?
ABE.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. And then also too, so is Voyager something that's only used for ABE, or is it also used for ESL?
It's just ABE.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be here. I want a lot to learn. Thank you.
Is Voyager ESL though? I thought Voyager was ESL.
No, that's Ventures. It's very confusing.
Ventures. It's another deep
Ventures
word.
is ESL.
Ventures is ESL.
Right.
Thank you,
Yeah.
because Amy, that's the question I meant to ask.
Yeah.
Ventures is ESL, and
Yes.
okay. All
Challenger
right.
and Voyager are ABE.
Okay. And when we say CAM, are we talking about the Cambridge University one? Is that what the CAM is?
I don't know what that is.
No, that was the resource last time when we had the Zoom session. You had to add the extension onto your Chrome so you could highlight, you could cut text out, you could write.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really wonderful tool. So no, it's completely different. Yeah. It's
Okay.
really editing, kind of editing the text that you're working in.
All right. When Robert Lee taught our ESL class, he introduced us to Cambridge LMS, which is a learning platform and has an ESL curriculum put out by Cambridge University. So that's what I assumed everyone was using.
That's okay. There's a lot of resources out there, Lucy, you're right. So yeah, that's that one. I know that it is used in the ESL training, and a good person, now that Robert's not here, Marisa has taken up that training. And if you have any questions with that, you can always connect with Marisa. What I can do, and Karen, if you remind me, we'll make the connection, and you can follow up with any questions that way directly with Marisa.
Mm-hmm.
Great, wonderful, thank you.
Thanks.
And anybody else?
Joe. Joe's on.
Joe?
Joe, where are you? Your mic is off. Maybe she's not there.
Maybe she stepped away for a moment. Okay, all right, that's all right. So Karen, why don't you introduce yourself quickly?
Okay, so yes, I'm Karen Hamilton. I have been with DCLC for a very long time and I love it. I love working with the volunteers, of course. I have the best job. I am the tutor coordinator / adult education coordinator. It's been two different titles for a while. I also am now doing the data stuff, so I'm kind of excited about that. So I get to even know more about students with putting all the data into our data program. The way I use online resources, well, I've used the Khan Academy, I've used the Newsela and the News for You, and I think they're all great resources for the tutors.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to quickly introduce myself and then turn it over to Amy, our expert. My name is Jen Cassini. I'm Director of Instruction and Curriculum. So my team is the teacher team. And of course, I am here to support Karen and Marisa in their roles, working with volunteers. Really what we can do with online resources has opened up so many different things, even beyond what our students can do, that we as professionals, there's professional development that's offered on each of these platforms. There's a lot of different resources for educators available on these platforms. So just, you can think of, not just what your student can get out of it, but what you as the tutor can also get out of these resources. And the only way to do that is, after Amy goes over these things and introduces some things, just visit around the site, click on everything, pull everything up, just really kind of explore. And that's the best way to find out these details. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Amy. Amy, screen share is enabled, so go ahead and.
Great. Yeah, well, thank you, Jen. And that really is a perfect introduction, because exploring is what I think is also just the very best way. Exploring and having fun, because exploring is all about adventuring and having fun. And so then it's fun for you, fun for the student. So I'll share my presentation here. Everybody can see that, okay? Introduction.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So I'm Amy Rosenberg, and I teach the ABE classes and also the adult secondary classes, which we casually call it the GED classes, but there's also the HiSET test. So we don't want to always call it that, because it's, anything with helping people to get their high school equivalency. But these resources I use with the ABE class. I don't use it with the ASE. Okay. Well, the very first slide, I think, is the most important one, because I want to welcome and honor all of you. Even before I met any of you, I knew you were all such special people, because here you are helping other people, not just learning to read, not just helping people with skills, but really helping them to connect to the world, helping them to understand the world around them and connect to other people. So it's such a gift. I just want to honor everybody with this first slide, opening up a world of reading for other people. So these resources, which are News for You and Newsela, why them? Why are we choosing them? Well, here's just a couple of the things that I think are so special about them. Really comprehensive resources. There are hundreds of articles, and any topic that you think of, particularly in Newsela, and you put it into the search. For example, one of my students was interested in volcanoes, and she said, "Oh, I found a great volcano article." And so then I thought, okay, well, let's look it up. So I put in volcano, and so many came up, we almost couldn't find it. We had to just search through the pictures. And actually, Anne, when you were talking about how a student had sent you a Newsela article, that made me think of my students and how they are emailing me with links to articles that they found that are not at all related to what we're studying in the class or what I gave them, but they're doing it on their own. So they're getting that interest. So the second thing here is about just what I'm saying, independent exploration. The students are sending me the links. They're doing it on their own and reading it. Topical, there are, the day or two after a news story happens, there's articles about it, because they're taking their articles from, Washington Post and other, New York Times, other big newspapers, and they're rewriting them, and they're doing it fast too. They're rewriting them at different levels. I say added weekly, new articles added weekly, but it's really daily. With Newsela, it's really daily. And both of them have those activities and ideas for further learning, which is just, just what people were talking about is, what are some ideas that we can have to extend the learning beyond it. The other great thing is lower level readers. The problem that so many times the students and even I as a teacher come upon is before I really got into these sites, I would have a hard time finding something that they could read. I'd say, okay, I want them to read something about a certain topic, and I couldn't find anything at their level. But here, the things are at their level, and even with Newsela, you can adjust the levels. And the other thing is written for adults. If I did find something that was at a second grade level, it was geared to the interests of 7-year-olds, but not Newsela and News for You. It really is real articles, but written at a simpler level. And very inclusive. Again, I keep saying Newsela, but particularly Newsela, that's the one I'm using the most. And it has developed a Black History section, which is so comprehensive that last summer when we did project-based learning, and the topic was an area of American history relating to people of color, there were so many articles to choose from on every topic. So now I've got you kind of excited about those. Let's take a look at what we're going to do. First of all, I do want to briefly go over, there's 4 reading skills, which they're the STAR reading skills, and they're from a training that all the ABE and ASE instructors did. But I'm just going to give you the basics of those 4 components of reading, and then we can see how these sites enhance those. We're going to look at features and content. I'll show you how to sign up. I'm trying to keep things as simple as possible, even for myself. When I go on these sites, I don't use all these bells and whistles. So I just try to keep things as simple as possible for assigning, accessing everything. So we'll look over how to screen share, because that's really helpful if students can see it while you're showing it to them. And some specific activities. And then we'll have some time for questions and comments. So I might skip over a couple things, but I'll try to at least summarize. So just a brief overview of these STAR reading skills. It's alphabetics, which is basically sounding out words. Some students need to be able to know what do the letters sound like and how do they fit together to make a word, whether it's a short word or a longer multisyllabic word. Fluency is reading, generally reading out loud smoothly and accurately, even if you can read individual words, just to flow them together to read smoothly. Vocabulary, of course, is the meanings of the words, and comprehension is understanding the overall meaning of the sentences, clauses. Sometimes that can confuse people with longer sentences with different parts to it. So I'll come back later on to these skills to show how I use the resources for these 4 skills. In terms of screen sharing, now I know a lot of you have probably done this already, but just as a review, it's really useful to share your screen. I do it all the time. It's become second nature with me to share my screen for whatever I'm doing with the students. A really good idea is to sign into everything before the tutoring session starts, because that way you have it already set up so that when you click share screen, it's there. When you click that green button at the bottom of Zoom, and it's for share screen, a couple options will pop up. The students won't see the pop-up that you have, the window. It says, do you want to share this file or that? Like, what do you want to share? And I generally click on, I use Google Chrome, and I have it as an active tab. That's the one that's open. And if it's not open, I have to go open it. But once it's open and you click on it, it'll instantly share the screen. And you can always start it and stop it again. Oh, and by the way, I'll just let you know, all these slides that I have, I'm going to be giving you all a copy of it afterwards. So it's okay if you don't take notes on everything. So first of all, let's start with Newsela. So I'm screen sharing right now, obviously, and I'm going to switch my screen sharing. I think the best way to do it I've found with these is to actually stop the screen share and then start it again. So, sometimes I can switch, but somehow with these slides, it's better to stop it and then start it again. So we'll look at creating an account, look over some of the articles there, the features of Newsela, and just all these various things that you can do on Newsela, browsing, assigning, things like that. And the last thing I say is, don't feel you need to use everything. In fact, as I was doing some of the research to do this presentation, I was coming up with stuff I didn't even know. And I've been using Newsela for a long time. And oh, I didn't even know you could do this. And some of the things I said, I'll use it now. And some I said, I'm still not going to use it because it would make things a little too complicated. But just, play around, just like Jen was saying, explore, play around with it and see what you'd like to use. So let's see, I'll stop the share here. And now I'm just going to make sure I open up the right one here. Newsela, okay. One thing I'll just mention is not on the topic or anything is with these Google Slides, I have to hit escape a lot. Like I was doing this before, I was testing it before, and I was hitting escape like 5 times until it finally escaped. So that's what it just did now. So now I'll go back. Here we are on Newsela. Now I may put off till the end about how you create your own account, and we'll just sort of go in with my account here. Now, one thing I will say is that there are different types of accounts. When you first sign in, it will say, are you a student? Are you a K-12 teacher? Are you a tutor? They'll say parent, tutor, caregiver. That's like one option is parent/tutor/caregiver. I'd pick that one. I actually created this account just for that because I have a different type of account. So you can see it says MM. I made a dummy name of a teacher. So it's not my initials. So this way, because it looks a little different, depending on your type of account. So here it is. First article you see, California plan would give $100 million to indigenous leaders to buy ancestral lands. There's, inclusivity, and there's, just true news that includes everybody. So the first thing you can do is just browse. Just look around, and they just feature certain things. You want to notice, this is a little hard to see, this little blue thing down here. See more in featured. At first I was just scrolling. I'm like, okay, but where's more? This isn't very much. But if you look down here, see more in popular, see more videos about Ukraine. By the way, this Ukraine coverage started like the next day. So very topical. I'll click see more in latest news. So many topics, and I'll try not to go down any, because rabbit holes, I go down rabbit holes. When I say to my students, we're going to look up one thing, we end up looking up a few things before we get to the thing. But you can see there's so many different articles. I mean, something for everybody. So I'll click on one. I'll click on this one about schools turn to dogs to ease student mental health crisis. Because once you click on an article, there's a lot about it. You can see, and this is Lexile Level. And I forget, somebody here was mentioning about Lexile Level, but the Lexile Level will show you how simple or difficult. So the higher level is harder, the lower level is easier. So 440L, I'll click that. Now the student will not be able to see, because they have a student account, will not be able to see down here, it says text level 2. They'll just see the Lexile level. But it's so useful as the tutor or teacher to see that is a 2nd grade level. That's a 2nd grade reading level. But, better for the students, not necessarily to say, oh no, am I at a 2nd grade level? Am I at a 3rd grade level? Some students may, not want to know that, or it may, you know, make them feel discouraged or something. But this way you can keep an eye on that level. But they're going to still see the same articles and everything, but they'll just have the student account as opposed to the tutor account. And if you make it max level, let's see now it's different on each one. Max level isn't always 9th grade. This says 9. Another one might have max level of 12 or 6. So it's always different. This is kind of an interesting thing, which I just recently learned. If you click present, it makes it a little easier, like, to see it. It gets rid of I think some of those margins and things so that it looks better. Of course, you can always enlarge. I go up here, make everything a little bigger just using my computer to enlarge things. Students are having trouble seeing, but I'll put that back to 100% now. This is a really important one. It looks like a bookmark and it says save. It can be hard to find an article again if you don't save it to your content, because there's so many articles about dogs and schools. You might never find it again. But once, and I'll take off the presenting because now it has all this other, you know, this menu pops back up again. Now when I look in your content, I'll be able to see this article and the other ones I've saved by you. And we should see that one with the dog. And I think I saved a couple other ones. Yeah. And then I guess I can just hit back browser to get out of it. It's very easy to get, you know, into the articles and back out of the articles again. And it can read it aloud, both of them. News4U and Newsela can read aloud, which can be really helpful for students. You can click share. Now, I don't get into all this about connecting to other things like, you know, Google Classroom. What I do is I just copy the link either here or just by copying the link by going up to the top. And I just put that into Google Classroom for the students. And they just see the link and click it, and then they come here. But I know that there is a way that you can, you know, do it directly through Google Classroom, as well as up here where it says the word assign. You can assign, and I tried that, but actually I was finding it was kind of difficult. I was doing this, and I made another account of myself to be the student, but then it looked like I had 9 students, maybe because I opened it 9 times or something. And I thought, you know what, this is getting a little too complicated. I'm just going to stick with giving them the link. But all these things you can explore.
Okay.
And, yeah, and the print is very useful too, because if there's a student that maybe doesn't have a computer or something, or you're going to be meeting with them in some other way, you can print it out on paper.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I know this is really basic. When you said you click on share and then you copy the link to put into Google Classroom.
Well,
I know probably how do you do that? How do you I know this is so basic, but
no, that's fine. Yeah. All I do is I go down here to the bottom where it says copy link.
Okay.
And I left click that. And
Okay.
what it does, it's the same thing as doing copy paste.
Okay.
Yeah, but what I usually do is I just go up to the top here.
Okay.
Where it says, you know, https newsela.com/ and I just click it, and then I do Control-C is the way to copy something. And then I go to where I'm going to drop it off in the Google Classroom, and Control-V pastes it in.
Okay.
To the link that the students have for their homework. So I always use Google Classroom as the way to connect with the students and give them their homework.
And then when I go to Google Classroom, it'll be right in there. The article.
Yeah, Classroom, there's a whole thing about where you put in the classwork section, and then that's the whole thing, and seeing how to do that. But yeah, and all the Google stuff, I really find that to be really intuitive. So, and you can see it's all really tied in so well. So let's see.
Amy, can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, if you just wanted to copy it and then like send it to them in an email, you could do that as well, correct?
Yes, basically it's
Okay.
like a link,
Yeah, just a link. Yeah, it's like a link, like our Zoom link.
Yeah, yeah. So it makes it really easy. They don't have
Yeah.
to, I mean,
Yeah.
a person doesn't even have to be a student in your class.
Right.
You just send it to them and that would work.
Thank you.
So yeah, so all these are really great. Another thing I'll point out is that at the bottom, that's cute, at the bottom of each article, there are similar articles or sort of the next articles in this topic. Oh man, it goes on a long time. So related articles, schools bring in therapy dogs from 2019. You know, all these things about helping schools or helping the dogs that are helpers. It goes even back. It gives one from 2014. And related text sets, I don't know. I don't think that they really have sets that relate to it. But if you're interested in something, you just keep clicking more and more articles. And that is part of the rabbit hole of going down to something you're interested in. It keeps going on. Let me just see. I've got my notes here to see if there's anything else I wanted to mention about Newsela. That's pretty much it. There is a way, basically, when you create your own account, you would just go and you'll see those 4 options. It just says at the beginning, you know, create an account, and you'll see 4 options, one of which is parent, tutor, caregiver. And then when you sign up for it, it says caregiver, but it really counts for all 3, parent, tutor, and caregiver. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna stop the share here, and then I can go back. Let's see, to the slideshow. And then I'll share my screen to that. So I'm sort of setting it up there. And then back to the slideshow here. Okay, so now we'll take a look at News for You Online. Not just News for You, but newsforyouonline.com. So here's the password. Okay, so it's a little different from how Newsela is set up, because this one, you have the password. It's like everyone has the same account. You're all using the same account. It's not like you save certain things that are just for you. Everyone's using it, which is great because your students can use it. You give the password to your students and everyone can access it. And, but everyone can use it differently. So here's how I remember this one. 2 best friends, dear friends too. Maybe you have a different poem or rhyme that'll work for you, but 2 best friends, dear friends too. And that's the password. And also once you put it in, it'll just automatically, it'll save it. I don't think you'll ever have to put it in a second time. Instead of individual articles, this is a weekly newspaper. And each paper has only about 7 articles to it. And then they have, you know, ways that you can expand the learning beyond those articles. But then there's an archive. So there's a lot more than 7 articles at a time. And we'll see those exercises, teacher's guide, and some of those things. So let me just stop the share again here so that I'll open up that one. And then, so you see, I'm always starting and stopping the share multiple times. So I'm already signed in here, News for You. Now it's also a paper, like an actual paper newspaper, and sometimes they relate to it. When you read some of these tips for teachers, they say, oh, take some of the copies of the newspaper and hand them out. It's like, okay, that's not going to happen. So I think some of them are a bit old, or for people who are using the older version, but it's so much better to have it online like this. Yeah. So let me go back to the home here, like the landing page here. Again, very topical, talking about Ukraine and Ukrainians. So here's this week, April 20th. It starts on a Wednesday, April 20th to April 26th. And on the right-hand side, they have just extra things to explore. Now, the thing about have you ever fasted, that's because Ramadan is another one of these articles. They kind of mix up a lot, like the things on the right-hand side have to do with all different articles. There's a crossword puzzle, word search. This week's teacher's guide, you know, each time there's a teacher's guide. Vocabulary, again, these vocabulary words relate to all 7 articles. And when you hover over it, it shows you the definition. So that's pretty cool. And when you're in one of the articles, like let's click this one about Ukrainians, these blue words are vocabulary words, and you hover over it to see the definition, part of speech and definition. And just like in Newsela, you can play it and, you know, hear the voice talking. And then here's the other ones from the issue. You can link to them right here. People have comments. The teacher's guide, I think there's 2 ways to get to that. You can do that from the top here. Teacher's guide for this week. Article, then, well, let me start with this one. Article exercises. If you have a certain article open, there's exercises that are just for that article. So the Ukrainians article, if I click here, there's 10 exercises, multiple choice. Actually, I don't even know the answer to this one because I didn't read the article. So I'll guess. Ooh, I guessed correctly. Okay. Next. So some are multiple choice. I've seen ones that aren't multiple choice. Let's see if there's another one. Oh, these all seem to be multiple choice, but I've seen other ones that are in other formats. So people are sort of getting used to how you would answer test questions, but also it's reading comprehension right there. That's one of those skills we were talking about. That's the reading comprehension skill. Let me hit the back browser here a couple times. Get back out of that. Teacher's guide. Now the teacher's guide isn't just for the one article, it's for all 7 articles. I think it's like 6 or 7. I think it's 7 articles. And this is all aligned with the standards. And it talks about how you can check students' comprehension. You can ask them some of these questions. And then these discussion questions are a little more open-ended, asking the students to really engage, which can be especially useful, I would think, for ESL to really just open a conversation. And then here's one which is more really just a learning process. Fill in the correct verb. So here you've got the verbs and the students fill them in. Now here's an answer key, but you can give the students one that doesn't have the answer key. Now, of course, everyone's got the same password, so if they really want to see the answer key, they'll find it. But just so that it's not, you know, tempting to glance your eye down to the answer key while you're doing it, that is over here on Tips for Teachers. Teacher's guide. If you want to send the teacher's guide directly to students, you can click on the students link to get a version that has no answers. For some reason, the most recent one isn't live or isn't active, but the older ones are. So here is, oh, that has the answer key. I don't know why that has the answer key. I was doing it before and didn't have one.
Oh, excuse me, I have another question.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, sorry. So when you're reading the article with a student and you go to the page where you're asking the question, if they and you want to refer back to the article while you're asking them the question, while I'm tutoring her, how do you do that?
You know what I might do? Okay, so this is something else I learned. Let's see if I can remember how to do it. I think this is just like in Windows 10 and 11, you can split the screen.
Oh yeah, I know. How do you do that?
There is a way to split the screen so you can be looking at both at the same time. But I guess another way to do it is just to have it maybe printed out ahead of time. I think printed out ahead of time is pretty good though, if you can, or have it on another device.
And you can do that, right? You can print this page out and just have it with me, right?
Yeah, actually, I haven't done that, but I'm pretty sure you could.
Okay.
Yeah, this one here, I clicked and I figured out why the student one had the answers, because when I clicked it, I clicked up here where it says April 13th Teacher's Guide. but I should have clicked down below it in parentheses, it says students. That's the one without the answers. So, yeah. So that's kind of and so there are things on this tips for teachers on the left-hand side. It gives a lot of ideas of how you can, keep the learning going and do different activities. To be honest, I found some of those to be a bit complicated or a bit, maybe for a larger class or something which you'd have to set up a lot of things ahead of time. So I would say take those with a bit of a grain of salt and use it as a starting point. Yeah, but I'll stop the share here and then we can go back to the slides where I'm talking about that more. Yeah, just sort of use those as a starting point, I would say, for, using your own ideas and creativity.
Amy,
So,
I have a question about those exercises.
Yeah.
If there's an exercise, it's kind of a technical question, but if there's an exercise that requires the student to like fill in a blank or, how do you share that with them and see what their answers are?
Oh, I have them do it and I have them just write it down in their notebook. If they're just looking at it on the screen, I'll say you can write that in your notebook, like 1, 2, 3, like the one where they fill in the correct verb. And then I'll give them a little silence to do it. And then I'll ask them about it. Now, if I can assign it ahead of time, that way they can do it. But I don't have them turn it in or something. I'll just, when I see them, I say, so tell me what how did you do? What were the answers you got?
Okay.
Yeah.
We've been doing something like that where she'll fill in answers, and if there's a lot, she'll take a picture and email it to me, and then I bring it up in Google Drive so I can sort of see a worksheet.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's really creative ways that they could do it. Or I guess she could even email you if she knows this is the, we're doing 1 through 6 on this page. She could email you the answers or something. But I like the taking a picture idea too.
I thought it was kind of clunky. I was hoping there was an easier way to do it.
Oh, no, I don't really do it. And it's not like a way of send in the homework kind of thing. I think Newsela has something like that, but I don't really use it. It's more like they do the homework and turn it in and you grade it and everything. So Newsela has a way to do that. Let's see. So I'll just click to the next one here. So basically going back to the 4-star reading skills, I kind of do the alphabetics and fluency together. If students need those and they're reading out loud, if they get stuck on a word, we break it into syllables. That's the alphabetics. And the fluency is just the reading out loud. And I correct them as they go if they make a mistake. The vocabulary, you can see there was a lot of vocabulary there. I sometimes make a glossary, have them write down the definition, use the word in a sentence, or I show them a word in a sentence and they come up with their own and write some examples. And then the comprehension, actually, Newsela does have something which is comprehension quizzes. As I was working on that, I was finding that a little, like some of my accounts weren't doing it. Let me see if I can go back here. Okay, I think, yeah, we're all still on. So you guys can see the dog again on Newsela?
Yes.
Oh, you can see that? Okay, make sure you could all see what I'm seeing. If I click on activities and quiz, now I gotta say, when I signed in as a student, I couldn't see the quiz. And even here signing in as, this is the account where I'm the tutor/parent, when you click on it, it's not clickable. And I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if it's just a glitch or it's not really clickable and showing the answers. But the good news is you see the quiz. So there's this reading comprehension quiz. And considering that, we're all teachers, I think we all can probably see what the answer is, even if, they don't tell you at the end. I think it may be just some sort of glitch, because in the past, I've always been able to see, like, you click on it and then see the answers. But today, as I was doing that, it wasn't working. But I just want to show everyone that there is this option. And when you're at different levels, like max level or something, it's a different quiz. It looks different. So it's really geared to that level. So let's see, going back to the slideshow, I think we're, okay, so one of the last things I want to mention here is about, I like to allow the learning to emerge. When I use these, I try not to get too bogged down in the details, the features, and just sort of explore it. Just like Jen said at the beginning, explore. Even when you're doing it with the students, exploring, and they'll choose the articles. They'll, follow their own interests. And, like what Anne was saying at the beginning, her student sent her an article. You're going to find that. They're going to be sending you the articles, following their own curiosity. And it can be a springboard. You're reading an article and that makes a student think of something else that they want to either look up or tell you about or write about or learn about. And that way, the way just opens naturally. And you guys will probably come up with even more activities that they didn't even think of and I didn't even think of. So a lot of creativity is possible there. So great. So that's the end of the slides there. I'll stop the share for now. And let me give you guys a chance to think, because I'll tell you one other thing about doing a presentation and doing a class and doing a screen share. Just at 10:01 as we started, I remembered that I have my cell phone set for a very loud alarm at 10:58 every day. But actually, I don't think it might ring today. I'm trying to think. It's Monday through Thursday. If it rings at 10:58, I'll go running out of the room to get it and be right back, but I don't think it will. But just kind of a reminder, I guess, that when something's coming up, okay, is everything turned off and everything? I know I don't always do that. So great. So let me turn it over to you guys to thank you so much for your great attention. And I know that I went kind of fast with things and I zipped through a couple of things, but I'd love to take some questions. Oh, but Janet, you're muted there. You just have to click the little microphone button, maybe on the bottom. There it is. You got it.
Yeah, I had the hand on the image of me, so I was clicking on that, and I needed to be on the bottom.
Yeah.
So, two questions. One is about Google Classroom, because I'm not familiar with it. Can you just describe it a little bit and how you integrate it with these other things?
Yeah, well, if you're in, they could do a whole hour on that, but just the basics is when you're in Gmail, there's these 9 dots in a grid up at the top. And when you click it, all the other Google apps open up. And one of them is looks like a green chalkboard, and it's Google Classroom. And you can create a classroom there where you can share writing and posts with students. You can share links. You can share resources they can download. You can put the homework and they can write on it as well. You can share the Zoom link. That's what I share, the Zoom link. So it's kind of a hub for everything to be in one place. And even just for one student, you could have one.
But it's not a streaming platform, like it's not equivalent to Zoom or Google Meet or
no,
okay.
No, they can't see. All they are, it's almost like Facebook, like they're reading the posts and they're seeing links.
So a cloud-based storage of some sort.
Yeah, and it's all through Google, so everything is all integrated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I've forgotten my other question, so go to somebody else.
You can come back to it, yeah.
And I'll just pop in, Janet, just to follow up with that. The next workshop, who will be led by one of our teachers, Chris, is about creating and maintaining a Google Classroom. So he's, and the way to think of it, Amy used the perfect term, the hub. The more official name is, we call those learning management systems.
Okay.
And the reason is because you're not just storing information there. As Amy mentioned, there's ways to have discussion and to put posts up there to really communicate through that system. And so that will be coming up in May, and we will have one of our teachers presenting on how to show you to set one of those.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question, and I just thank you so much for offering the workshop on Google Classroom. That sounds great. I've been very curious about it and how it might be helpful. I guess my question is about Newsela and the different levels of difficulty for each article. How do you decide the appropriate level for your student to be sort of the most effective, like get the right, the right level for them?
Well, I tell the students to just kind of do it, just to see on their own. Like I might start at a middle level. I kind of have an idea. And actually for the ABE students, they do get a kind of a test where I get an idea of the level from their reading tests. But also I get an idea just from hearing the students as they read out loud, talking to the students. I get an idea, and I generally start with my ABE students around 5th, 6th grade level, but I imagine with tutoring students who are below the ABE level, I'm going to say maybe 4th grade level might be a good place. And as you read with the student, especially one-on-one, you'll get a sense of what seems too easy or too difficult. There is also a way that the teacher or tutor can lock it so the student's not allowed to change level. I don't do that. Who would do that? I say, no, they can have that freedom to look at the different levels. And then the great thing is that different students can discuss the same article, even if they've read it at different levels.
And I think, Karen, do you give the tutors the grade level equivalency for students?
I sure do.
So, and that's a great question, because what we've learned through the STAR process is, say they come in and they're matched with you and they're at a 6th grade level. As Amy mentioned, there is that like 2 grade level range. So to decide, you could do like 6, 7, 8. And make that your range, or 7, 8, 9. And then that's how you can decide and then adjust going forward. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? You guys are an awesome group. Great questions. And Amy, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I have STAR teachers all over, and I am so thankful for their expertise. It's been so incredibly helpful. And as I mentioned before, we have the recording. This will come out to you. We have Amy's presentation. This will come out as well. And I know Amy is always happy to help. So if you want to follow up, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any particular questions that you're looking through. Yeah, that would be so helpful. And as I did mention, we will have the Google Classroom coming up in May. As soon as I have that date solidified, Karen will get that information out to everyone, and it's going to be a Friday at 10. That seems to work. We have the best turnout during this time, so that I do know. But if there's no other questions, I want to thank you so much for all that you do. I want to thank you for your time. And many thanks to Amy, our presenter, and Karen for all the work she does with the tutors. And have a wonderful weekend. It's supposed to be really nice this weekend, right? Like warm, sunny things.
70, yeah.
Time to get out there and enjoy. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. That was very
Thank you,
good.
Amy.
Thank you. That was a wonderful presentation.
Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
It's great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.